Today's a different day, so at rehearsal today, I talked to my band. I'm the drumline instructor at a marching band. I talked to them. I gave them the speech. I wrote a 4-page speech about fear. There's a lot going on in life and stuff right now, and I'm reading a lot and I'm taking in all of this new information. I said something at one of the practices, and the band director was like, well, Thursday's your day. You're gonna get to say and do whatever you want. I knew today was coming, however, I didn't prepare too much beforehand, so I, at about 1 o'clock, had to be there at 3, drove over to Starbucks, got my Think juice on, my coffee, and sat down and started writing. This is what came out of it. I hope they know that I'm not a master of this. I can't do it yet. I don't embody everything that I said in there. However, I've experimented enough to know that there's truth to this, to some degree. This isn't the answer to life, but this is something like a theory that I've kind of gotten from substitute teaching and seeing kids interact and people interact in the real world. And I talked to my mom and I talked to people about their jobs, and I just, you get a cross section of the world. And I was in such a bubble when I was in high school and even in college that I didn't get an accurate cross section of the population because I was in my own little bubble the whole entire time. So what is this whole video about? My biggest fear right now is that I care so much about the people that I have a hand in teaching and that are teaching me that I don't want to be a hypocrite. I can't just get up there and talk this stuff and not do anything about it myself. Like, I recognize I'm still struggling with this, and I'm not okay with getting up there and acting like I have all the answers and that I do everything perfectly and that I'm just this great person. They have no idea what I'm doing or what I'm struggling with in these papers that I was more so talking to myself than them. They have no idea. I sat down and I wrote this in like an hour, and they're like, wow, how can you sit down and write that in an hour? Like, I can't write a page or a paragraph in an hour. This is something that I've seen a lot with high school students, like in English classes that I've substituted for. You're supposed to write for 10 minutes in a journal or something at the beginning of class, and kids I told them, I was like, even if you don't know what to write, I respect you if you just sit there for the whole time and write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write. And on the chance that you get an idea or you get bored of writing, I don't know what to write, and your mind goes elsewhere, that you start writing about that and go off from the tangent. But I think people are so afraid of, actually trying or something. I'm gonna sit here and show my process of how this works, because people were acting like this is hard. Like, this is hard to come up with. No, like, this is what needs to come out of me to feel sane, Like, this is a journal entry to me. This is meant for other people, but it just further illuminates how much of a hypocrite I am. And it's not like I think I'm an awful person or anything, don't get me wrong. But that's easy, and it's not about the writing, and it's not about all that kind of stuff. It's about, I think a lot of people are missing the point that they're missing out on feeling sane or getting rid of all of the crazy thoughts that are going on in their head. Like, there's some days when I wake up and I can literally feel the thoughts, like, they're like, here we come, and I'm like, ugh, go away, and I just play music and I just try to get it out of my head because I can just feel it coming. It's like, oh, what are you doing for band today? What are you gonna eat for lunch today? It's like, oh, just stop. I can worry about that later. So I don't think people realize the benefits that journaling and just writing your feelings and writing out your thoughts and like getting it onto paper can do for somebody. People are just afraid. I don't know what the stigma is around it. If they're afraid that somebody's gonna come in and, read it or something. That's something I talk about in here. One thing I'm gonna try to figure out is how the projection of me, the image of me that I give to the world is different from how I feel like inside. It's a pretty weird and woo thing, but it's something that I have to figure out because I feel like there's some kind of discrepancy in the way that I act outwardly and the way that I feel about myself inwardly, because I don't know, it's weird, but that's what I'm going to write about, because it's like when one of your muscles are like sore in your back or something, you know, like foam rollers or tennis balls, and people like have you roll around on the foam roller or tennis ball to get that knot out. It's like I can tell there's a knot in my mind about this thing, and I know there's something off, and it's causing me stress and a little bit of anxiety about it, and I just have to figure it out. Like I have to foam roll it out of my brain, and the best way to foam roll those things out of your mind is to write about it. It's to get it out of your mind onto paper in a linear fashion, because your brain is operating on like a bunch of different frequencies and levels, and it's like an intersection with about 8 different lanes that are all trying to go at the same time, and then all your thoughts crash into one another. The best thing to do, talk about it with somebody or write about it, because it makes it come out of your mouth or out of your fingers when you're typing linearly in a straightforward fashion. Another little added stigma is that this isn't a thing for like guys to do or something, because guys don't have feelings, but that's bull. That's dumb. I think females are more receptive to the idea. Guys aren't gonna sit down and actually do something, and maybe they're gonna sit down and play video games or something, but they don't. It's like there's just a big ball of stress that, you know, like they have 5 million knots in their brain, and they've just decided to like drink a Mountain Dew about it instead and not do anything. Like it can't be fixed, or like this is how it's supposed to be, because they're supposed to be guys, and you know, this whole thing around it. But jeez, we're messed up, okay? We're messed up people, admit it. We're afraid to like tell our feelings and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. It's a super simple process. It's not hard at all. It might not be exactly what you want it to be in the first place, but that's okay. Okay, so the first thing that I use is Evernote. There's this app you can get on your phone. You can get it on a laptop. I think like Mac things or Apple things you can get it on. It's way better than like the Notes app. It's so much more organized. You can have different like whole different journals, and then you can have like inside of your journal like all these entries. Like I have 80 journal entries or something like that. Because whenever I get a thought, I just have to get it out. The process is that you're gonna set a timer for 10 minutes, and you're not gonna stop writing for like 10 minutes. If you have to stop, that's okay. You're not gonna fail. However, you just need to start writing and stop editing what you think, because if you just write and you're like, I feel like crap today because I don't feel like I'm good enough, and then your inner critic comes in and it's like, oh, don't tell anybody, like you don't feel good enough, like what do you mean, what are you talking about me, just crazy stuff, dumb, lame. Just don't ignore that. Just ignore it and just write. Just keep writing, figure out what you're feeling, get those knots out of your brain. If you need help with this, you need assistance, because you can't not stop writing. You can't write for 10 minutes straight. Let's go with that one. Then we can go over here. Go to this thing. It's called Write or Die 2. I think Write or Die 3 is out, but I would use Write or Die 2 right now because Write or Die 3 is in beta. And if you press tab, it erases like everything you've done, and it's so habitual for me to press tab when I start a new paragraph. So go to Write or Die 2. It's good enough. And you can set these parameters of how much you want to write, like 1,500 words in 60 minutes. Or you can just say down here, you can't really do this unless you pay for it. So go down here, and you can set the time limit here. Goes all the way up to 30 on the free version, or you can do it in how many words you want to do. So I'm going to set mine to 10 minutes because that's how long I want to, you know, foam roll my brain out for. And let's just say, let's shoot for 750 words. How about that? And then you just go ahead and press try. What this is it's going to require you to write for 10 minutes, and it's going to keep you up at this pace of 750 words over 10 minutes. That's a certain amount of words per minute, right? So if you fall behind that pace, or if you stop writing and think too much or edit yourself or something like that, the screen will turn red. Horrendous noises will start blaring at you, like crying babies or a flock of perturbed seagulls or humans screaming. It just incentivizes you to keep writing and to keep going, and it feels like there's something behind you that's kind of chasing you, and that helps me a lot. One more trick you can do is go here, and instead of writing at a size 14 font, you can turn it down to like 9. If you do Word or something, sometimes you can turn it down all the way to size 1. That way you can't even see what you're writing to critique it. This works for National Novel Writing Month really well, but I'm gonna recommend this. I don't think you really need it so much for journaling, but the point is to just write. Don't expect anything perfect from yourself. This is not a school essay. This is nothing like that. This is supposed to be crap. This is supposed to be awful. This is supposed to be for you. Nobody else will see this unless you want them to see that. Luckily, I was passionate and inspired enough that what I wrote for band came out relatively well, but my writing never sounds like that. So it more it doesn't matter about punctuation. Don't worry about punctuation. Just go for it. Just do it. That's a point. It's like get it out of you. Now what my shiny self is gonna do is write for 10 minutes. I'm gonna see what I get out of it, and then I will communicate that to you and see if I got anything out of it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I just finished, and let me turn my fan off. Okay, so I just finished, and I got about 799 words in 10 minutes. It took me a few minutes to get warmed up even, and then I got going, and honestly, I just kind of started to get into the real crux of the issue. A lot of the time, what will happen is that you start for 10 minutes, and then you realize, oh, now that I'm started, it's so much easier to keep going. This is a huge thing that happens with pretty much everything in life. As soon as you get started, it's so much easier to keep going. So have I figured out much in 10 minutes? Yeah, so I think I figured out that while I don't feel right saying negative things out loud, I feel or I think negative things in my mind about people, even though I know it's not right, and I know that it's my inner bitterness somewhere that I need to figure out, that I'm just projecting on other people that they're not good enough or they're not trying as hard as me. I think it's because I feel lonely that people don't think the same things that I think about, and I need 1 or 2 or 3 people at least that I can talk to about these things so I don't feel crazy because I have all these thoughts, So I'm constantly looking for others that share the same thing, but at the same time I can't expect somebody to come into my life that can solve all of my problems. I think it won't happen that I find that person until I actually start to solve my own problems, and maybe that's when I'll get lucky enough, when I don't really need that person is when they'll come into my lives. And I do have some great people in my life, but I've yet to meet anybody as crazy as I am about these thoughts and figuring out life and its purpose and its meaning and how to live it. So I need to figure out why I think those negative thoughts about other people, how I can think that in my head that, when I walk around the mall, that they look like they don't have a good life. It looks like they're not living as hard as they can. They're not being their best selves. How can I think that for strangers? And then when I teach people, I think the opposite. Oh man, this person can do anything they want to do, and I want them more than anything to realize that. And then 3, why do I talk so negatively about myself in my head? And how do those 3 things interact with one another? And how can those 3 different images and versions of myself come more into a unified thing so that I can just be one identity and not have to be at conflict with all these different parts of me in those different ways. I think reading has helped a lot for me, and a lot of people don't like to read, but reading just gives me fuel to write, and writing is what, purges all these things from my mind and actually like teaches me what I need to know, because ultimately you can read a book, but it doesn't change you. You don't change until you make the change in yourself, right? So writing is my version of figuring out what's going on inside of me. That way I can create that change in myself. That way I can read about fear, and then when I figure out, I sit down to write something and fear comes out and all these concepts about fear. I realize how important that is to me because I have so many thoughts about it. I didn't even know until I sat down to write. That's why that's important. And now I have to write more about that so I can figure it out and how it applies to me. The smartest person in the world won't be able to tell me how I feel or what I need. Only I can tell myself that. But I have to figure out what I think first, and there's no way I'm gonna sit there and figure it out. And there's no way like you're going to either. Actually, I might keep writing because I need to figure this out. I hope that you see that this is possible, that writing about these things isn't so hard, that there's no failure, there's nothing like that involved. You just gotta get started. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this at all, then more so than telling me, I'd much rather you just go and try journaling and set a time limit for yourself and don't stop writing. Do the world a favor. Get your thoughts out. I appreciate it. Have a good day.